I'm literally shaking. I have thoughts, I have feelings, and I feel like Sidine and Sidar working together, but working against each other. So let's get into this. Hey, Wheel of Time fans, welcome back to Dan the Red Hand. I am Dan, and this is the reaction video to the last episode of the season of Amazon's Wheel of Time series, The Eye of the World. This is just a reaction video, so no spoilers, no intentional spoilers anyways in this. So as I'm editing, I realized I lied to you. There are no book spoilers in this review, but there are definitely spoilers for episode 8. So if you haven't watched yet, go watch the damn episode first, then come back and watch the reaction. So let's talk about this right now. So as a book reader and a huge fan of the series, right now I'm kind of torn. I am very, very torn, and having that inner conflict, like I said, like the two halves of the one power. From just a audience perspective, it's a very good episode, and it culminates this season extremely well. As a book reader, there's a lot of things that were changed, a lot of major things that were changed. But at the same time, I liked being surprised. I caught myself, going, oh, shit. I mean, or it's just very interesting. I don't know how I feel about that as of yet. Let's just kind of go through some of this stuff really quick. I gotta admit, this is the hardest reaction episode to do. I'm on like take 4. We're gonna keep going though. All right, so let's start with the cold opening. And to say that it's not the scene that I expected. As soon as I saw that they went going through back 3,000 years, I was like, okay, Age of Legends, I know what we're doing. And it was not at all a scene I thought it was going to be. Not mad at that. I like the fact that there's a lot of old tongue, but it did make it hard for me, who's trying to look at everything while reading and also while listening to this language I've wanted to hear for 20 plus years, all coming to life. That was a little distracting, so I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that. Nonetheless, I thought aesthetically it was good, and it kind of set up, hey, book readers, shelve your damn expectations, because this is not the books it's based on. It is a different turning of the wheel, and that is what it is. We've got to look at it from that aspect, because it is not the books redone, which, like I said, torn. Kind of feel like Sidar and Sidine inside of me right now, working together and against each other. So let's just go on to the next scenes and keep going. So you got Land and Moraine going through the blight. I think the blight on the inside, the interior, not looking out from overhead of those like starfish looking vines, but inside looks a lot more like the blight that I think of when I read the book. So I liked that. I like the way she's describing things. You get to see the 7 Towers of Malkir, and she's like, hey, this was much farther away from Tarwin's Gap. This just shows the Dark One's getting loose. I like that kind of reality warping idea of that. I really like that particular stuff in there. The Eye of the World looked good, and we'll come back to that because I want to end this kind of on that. So let's kind of go back to Faldara. So very early on, they start hitting you with that action at Faldara. It's not long. Egwene's trying to pack, so you're already hearts racing. That Rand and Moraine are on the way to the Eye of the World, and then they're getting ready, they're discussing, and horns start blowing. And they're like, hey, there's an army of Trollocs. Algamar admits that Amelisa was right, that they have been gathering up there in the blight. So it just ramps up that sense of suspense and dread. And the cutting back and forth between Faldara, the blight, Faldara, the blight, Faldara, Tarwin's Gap, Faldara, all that cutting back and forth took these things that are all kind of happening at the same time, and instead of just letting them all happen, very similar to like a Marvel movie might, which is good in one aspect, but there's a lot more drama here. There's not as much, and they don't have the budget to do all that kind of crazy stuff. So instead of doing that, they're ratcheting up that suspense and that dread. And I'm still a little shook by that. So I really loved the way that worked out in the episode. So speaking of that, I like the interactions between Algamar and Amelisa, how he's going to the Gap to try to defend it. She's staying there, but they both are like, this isn't going to work. Tarwin's Gap can't hold up to that many Trollocs and Fades. This city can't hold up to that. And Agamar's like, yeah, but, Dark One's being released. Tarmagaiden's here. This is the last battle. We got to do everything we can to give the rest of the world a chance to gather its forces. We got to hold them off as much as we can, do as much damage, and go from there. So that sentiment was something I really enjoyed from him. And, it kind of showed I liked that she put on her father's armor and he went out on his own. You know, I don't think that his father's armor would have stopped that spear from pinning him to the wall anyways. And it didn't really help her when it came to her burning herself out channeling. So that's kind of neither here nor there. I do like when Algamar looked at Uno and Lord Dakota and told them, hey, you need to go do this, go find this. It didn't hit me what was happening at that point in time, but the second they grabbed pickaxes and started hitting on the floor, I was like, oh, I bet there's no way, but things have changed, so maybe. And I was right. Horn of flipping Valere's there. I am very sad that it looks like Uno's dead. I loved him coming out and just screaming about flaying their, you know, bloody goat kissing hides off. And just, oh, it was so good, but too short-lived for that character. You know, there's nothing necessarily to say that those guys are dead, but they're probably pretty dead. Oh, I don't know how to feel about Loyal either. Oh, there's so many people that are pretty much dead here. Patton Fane was played to perfection. I thought he did a wonderful job of just being evil, but also knowing that there's a plan. So he's not just evil going out and killing everybody. The forces of the dark have a plan for these 5 Ta'veren, and we're going to have to wait and see what it is. I love the line when Perrin picks up the axe. He's like, see, just a little nudge, and you immediately turn to the dark. That was just phenomenal because it's going to add to the inner conflict of Perrin. So wonderful there. Let's jump outside where you have Egwene and Nynaeve and the Malkirian woman, Lady Amelisa, all linking to channel to stop this horde of Trollocs. And we're able to do it probably mostly on the back of Nynaeve and probably Egwene too, but definitely Nynaeve, because none of those others had all that much power to channel. They were not Aes Sedai. That being said, Amelisa is Aes Sedai trained, so she knew how to work the weaves. She just never had enough power to do it, you know, to that effect before. So that's what that was showing. I liked that. I loved the fact that you see people burning out as it's going, and Amelisa having that whole "I can't let go, I can feel everything" kind of a moment. Wonderful there. I like that Nynaeve kind of takes on that burning out for Egwene. It's definitely something she would do. And seeing Egwene over her crying and basically channeling the healer because she had to be on the very brink of death was also wonderful. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of this, which is the Eye of the World and the scenes that take place on the way there. That first dream sequence of Rand's, definitely knew it was going to be a dream sequence. Definitely knew it was. The second that Moiraine got stabbed through the mouth, I was like, yep, it's a dream sequence. I'm not that worried about it, but I was still very interested because you get to see the Dark One's kind of mask go away and he kind of looks human. And oh, it was good. I love the way that he interacts with Rand in this and the way that he's talking to the Dragon Reborn. It's very well thought out, it's methodical, and it's very convincing. So I love that aspect of it. Moiraine trying to figure out, Rand, what is he doing in your dream? She's trying to come up with a better plan than just go channel, go and fix it. She's trying to help him out. He doesn't realize it, so there's that fight. And of course, she hasn't been completely trustworthy with them or completely honest all the time. So there's those seeds of doubt. So it's very, I like that acting. I like that very much. Let's just go ahead and get to the Eye of the World. You know, Rand immediately says, hey, I remember this place. And you see glimpses. He's talking. He's like, you know, he sees himself as Lews Therin. He sees the Dark One. And he doesn't even get a chance to tell Moiraine, because when he bends down and touches that symbol, he knocks out. And then you still have kind of this back and forth, because you have him in this dream world that is really good. It's not at all what I expected. I thought it was going a different direction. This is one of the changes that I can say I 100% do not mind, and I actually really like the way they did it, because it was a nod to book readers. It was a lot of stuff from the book, but done in a way that is still true to the books, but is completely different and surprises me as a book reader. Part of the audience completely surprises me, but also makes me happy to see. It's hard to describe. I'll get into it in the spoiler video. That way I don't have to talk around stuff. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. So let's just keep going through that. And the interactions between the Dark One and Moiraine, equally just as good. Or he's talking to her and she tries to channel, and he immediately just severs her from the true from the one power. And that's just so good, and just how quickly he could do it was wonderful, and he's digging at her. He's like, it must be terrible to have that feeling, knowing the one power is right there at your fingertips. You just can't quite touch it. It's just so good with all that. His interactions with Rand, you know, the conniving and tricky way, like, no, you can make this real. You just gotta let that power come into you and open as a sieve and just think of what you want and it will happen. You know, saying, hey, you don't necessarily have to try to control the channeling. Channeling will just do it. But he's just trying to get him to break out of that prison. Of course, Rand eventually chooses free will over what he wants. Yes, this is the life he wants. He wants Egwene. He wants to have that daughter Joya with Egwene. But he doesn't think that's what Egwene wants. And when you love somebody that much, you don't, you know, force them to your will. You accept them for who they are and their wants and desires. You find compromise. And that's what he did. That's what he chose. And, you know, the second he put his hand down by his leg, I was like, oh, okay, there it is. And, you know, obviously Moraine realized it. So he channels and the Dark One, you know, disappears, I guess is obliterated. I don't know, but oh, so good. I was not expecting him to just leave. So, hey, there's why Min was like, do I come back from the eye of the world? And she was just silent because she doesn't know what happens to him. She escaped the city earlier, so who knows? There's so many things that were so true to the book and so not true to the book. And I don't know how I feel about the changes as of yet. Again, so let's just get away from that and say, holding my feelings about the actual episode when it comes to the changes until later. Get to that very last scene. Oh, that very last scene made my heart thump. Seeing those ships in the west pull up, and those channelers and how they're, again, some changes. This stylistically, not a change I mind. I actually think this is really freaking cool looking and very true to that culture. But seeing them pull that tidal wave was just like, holy shit. It is on for next season. And it ends with Moraine and Lan finally catching up. And Moraine saying, no, I fear this wasn't the last battle. It was just the first. Letting you know that, hey, shit, guys, there's a bunch more to come. So I'm pumped. Oh, God, I want to give more, but I can't because I don't know how I feel about some of the changes. I'm going to go back and rewatch this right now. So, hey, I will see you guys in a couple of days after I take a quick vacation for the holiday. But, hey, Sunday, I'm going to be back. Probably going to do both the non-spoiler and the spoiler review. I will see you guys then. Season 1's done. Woo! Have a great day.